Hello, you are on the Alice Reddit Stories channel. More than 90% watch my videos without a subscription. Subscribe to the channel so we always stay in touch. Enjoy watching. Story 1. OOP's husband spends an obscene amount of money on comic books every month, and he's not reading them. Married less than a year, and we don't have money troubles. I feel like this is more about fairness? Common goals? Letting go of the past/sunk cost? For reference, we're both about 40y.0, track spending pretty closely, though it's not like I reign in certain categories per se. More, I track it for knowledge. Husband says he's happy to let me do all the financial planning, since I'm so good at it. He said he wants me to help us reach our discussed common goals and be secure. The last thing I want is to be a new wife who says he can't go to cons or hang out at the board game store and play tournaments or whatever. But there's this comic thing he has. We're paying $100 per month for a climate-controlled storage closet to store these. He spends about 1/3 of our disposable income per month on them. He brings home a few boxes from the comic store, and then the boxes go unsorted into the storage locker. In the year we've been together, I've never once seen him read a comic book. Says he has this vision that once we have a house with more room, he'll sort them and read entire series. I get it. I love reading. But he's spending more than our rent each month on this collection. And when he had a larger place all to himself, he didn't have them sorted then either. How do you talk to someone whose self-identity is almost tied up in these that it's okay to not finish collecting the entire series for each of these? How do you talk about how he's not betraying that 13y.0 version of himself that found his only solace in comics? How can I explain how out of proportion the spending is to other things? If the bills are paid on time, and the CC balances aren't going up, he emotionally sees no reason to not spend like this. I'm here to listen. I'm here to get other perspectives. We've never fought about this, and I doubt we ever will. But I wanted to have another conversation with him, and I was hoping to come to it with some fresh insight and ways I can compromise. Also, some clarifications. 1. I earn half the family income. 2. I should have technically said discretionary spending, which is different than disposable. 3. He spends on average 50% of the discretionary spending on his hobbies, 2/3 of which is this comics collection, leaving 25% for us things like vacations and gifts, etc., and 25% my hobbies/personal spending. We're planning to sell his house. We live in an apartment, but it's been a struggle to get him to empty it out enough to put up for sale. Over Labor Day weekend we filled 2 15-yard dumpsters with trash, donated/trashed his furniture we couldn't keep, etc., but he still won't call a realtor. We discussed his clutter before we started dating, and I hard limit told him I'd not ever live in a hoard, not that I called his place that, just that I never would live in one. He wanted help. He wanted to move in with me in a clean apartment instead of staying at his house, and then eventually together we could buy/build a bigger house for us. The climate-controlled storage unit was rented because we don't have room in the apartment for everything he wants to keep, and his comics was an example of things he said he couldn't just leave in his mom's garage or something. Update 1. Husband has agreed to an allowance for his hobbies and personal luxuries. That amount will be direct deposited into his checking and the remainder of his paycheck will be deposited into the joint checking. He has submitted this request to HR, though it might take a paycheck or two before it actually happens. He knows that the amount he agreed to is a cut from where he has been spending. He says it's smart to make him have to learn the reasonable limit, and that his spending as a single 39-year-old probably needs adjustment now that he's a married 40-year-old with a spouse and new joint goals together. 2. This year's comic book purchases aren't in the storage unit. They're in his closet here at the apartment. We're going to sort the ones that are here, and new purchases will be kept sorted moving forward. He's buying the white storage boxes today for this task. Once his house sells and we buy a new house, We'll make sure the new house has a dedicated space to comic storage and display, so we can eliminate the storage unit. ***. 3. We're going to read the back issues digitally for the Spider-Gwen comics this month, since the first couple years of those issues are buried somewhere in the storage unit, and too difficult to access right now. Then together we're going to read the new ones as they come out, hopefully, so I'm more invested in the collection, and it gives us both motivation to keep the new incoming issues organized. He knows it's not that it's comics that bothers me. I couldn't care less what he was into specifically. It's that he's spending a disproportionate amount of the discretionary spending on something that I don't see him enjoying, and it's preventing us from not only letting me spend an equal amount on my hobbies/pastimes, but it's preventing us from reaching our joint goals. But, now that we've agreed to his allowance for hobby spending, it's gonna be up to him to make sure he's setting aside enough each month to pay for his Comic-Con trips and the other bigger goals he has with his hobbies. So the specific amount spent on comics isn't really going to be an issue, hopefully, as long as he keeps his overall hobby spending to fit his allowance. This actually was an interesting conversation which I think hit home for him to hammer in that his spending on the comics was not proportional to the role it played in his life. We were sitting in the TV/AV room, and I pointed to the DVDs and such and asked how much he thinks we spend on DVDs, Netflix, etc. $200 per month at most? Okay, sure. $200. We have an entire room, maybe 80 to 100 square feet, solely devoted to the use and enjoyment of a hobby/pastime we spend $200 per month on. He spends 5x that much on comics. Do we have any space in the apartment devoted to it? If he spends, let's say, 60 hours per month watching movies and streaming shows, on which we spend $200 per month or whatever, how many hours per month are we devoting to comics, on which we spend $1,000 per month? 1 hour, if that? Then I pointed to the kitchen. How much per month do we spend on food and kitchen stuff? Less than we spend on his comics. How many square feet of the apartment is devoted to it? It's a very small kitchen, maybe 50 square feet. How much time per month do we spend on making food, mixing cocktails, making coffee, eating food, etc.? I mean, I know it's not a direct correlation, but this exercise seemed to at least communicate what I found frustrating about his comic collection, and it made sense to him. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, there are a lot of interesting stories ahead of you.